So after a pretty electric weekend, let's talk about all the things that led up to this very interesting MPO win.
He did not.
I actually have an exclusive interview with James Proctor, his interesting stories on the tour, and much more. If you guys want to see the full unedited version, I'll be releasing it on Patreon today, link in the description. No obligation, but I really appreciate anyone that is willing to support me. It really motivates me and allows me to make more of this content. Let's get into it. So before we talk about FPO, I really wanted to touch on MPO because it was pretty interesting. There was so many people that I thought could potentially take it down. I definitely was thinking that maybe a local would, especially Dallin Blanchard, who is a local on this course and actually knows it probably better than anyone else. He was playing phenomenal, literally 9 down through 10, and if I had to say from that point on, it was looking like he was going to take it down, but just didn't quite finish in the back 9, and then round 2 wasn't really that good. And the reason why I'm not talking about a third round is because I was waiting for it to happen, but with a rain delay that just kept getting delayed, there was no final round for MPO. And with this being a much less big deal than like Elite Series, they basically just called it off and said, you know what, whoever won round 2 is the winner. And that was very interesting because the person that won was 18-year-old Evan Scott, the 2021 Worlds champion. He's been playing very good recently, so it's not necessarily totally out of the blue, and he actually had a 4-stroke lead above everyone else. So it was definitely looking like he could take it down, but wow, what an interesting way to get your first Tour Series win. And I'm sure if I'm Evan, I'm kind of like, well, yeah, cool, but like, does this even count? Like, there's so many things that make this not as big of a deal as any other Elite Series win. The field was lessened. Everyone's going to Emporia. If they're not going to Emporia, they're going to Europe. So there was definitely less people playing the event. And with the elevation, it is definitely a different type of golf than any other type of golf. So like, is there an asterisk there? And then you always have to wonder, like, would I have choked the final round? Probably not. Like, he played very well both rounds, 11 under first round and 12 under second round. So he was playing hot. And with a 67% circle 2 percentage in round 2, it was very, very clear that he was on. And I think this certainly fits his particular type of game where he does try to get those very clean shots, hit those lines with preciseness, and you don't have to worry about gaps as much in other wooded courses. It is a lot more of just make sure you angle it the right way and it'll go to the basket. He had very good smooth form that got him to this point, and he definitely is well deserving of the win, but you just have to wonder, is this really does this really count for a win? It's hard to say for right now. And something very interesting about this entire tournament was how much craziness happened from Circle 2. Anthony Barella was hitting Circle 2s like it was nothing. James Conrad was hitting some pretty good ones. But speaking of James Conrad, let's talk about how many freaking throw-ins there were. James had a 242-foot eagle in round 1. Absolutely absurdness. Ty Love was playing phenomenal, nearly aced it, but also had 5 Circle 2 makes in round 1, with a 60-footer being the longest. Totally insane numbers here. But that is by far not the best ones yet. There was 2 particular players that I thought would perform a lot better in their finishing scores, but didn't actually finish that well, and that is Gannon Burr and Kevin Jones. So overall, Kevin and Gannon finished tied for 8th, which I mean, that's fine, I guess, in a silver series where there's like that, not that much depth, but I definitely expect them to be a little bit higher on the leaderboard. But the main thing I wanted to note here is just how phenomenal they were from Circle 2. So Kevin made a 60-footer, 38-footer, and a 90-foot putt. This is definitely numbers that you expect to see from like one player like the entire tournament, not multiple players. And especially seeing Kevin get these kind of putts, it is just really uplifting because I want to see him perform well. I want to see him play his absolute best. And I definitely do not get to see that as much, especially when he's not even on live that much. So it is really exciting to see that. But the best putting performance was definitely Gannon Burr. And it was really showing up with how good his Circle 2 putts were. He was like a little bit off. He like had some good drives, but he saved it again and again with a 49-foot putt in round 1, and then a 38-footer in round 1. And then in round 2, he had 38-foot, 38-foot, 67-footer, and then a 123-foot throw-in. And the entire time I'm watching this, I'm just like, no way he just jammed that. And he did it from like a standstill, normal Gannon Burr putt that didn't even look like it had any amount of effort into it, and it just goes dead straight in the chains. I do not know how that happens. And it is just totally insane for somebody to especially get this kind of putting percentages when you are that much above sea level and all the conditions are slightly different. Totally absurd stuff. So overall, I think this was a phenomenal MPO performance. There was so much fun stuff going on. And while I do think it is kind of lame for Evan Scott to get this win in this particular manner, I am still so excited for him because I know he is such a stand-up guy. He has been playing great recently, and he definitely has a track record of just smooth form and consistent play. So getting to see him shine, even with a asterisk win, is still awesome. So on to FPO. Now in the same regard as MPO, there was so many fun throw-ins and great circle 2 putts. Honestly, I think it was probably more interesting than the great drives. The general consensus, at least for me here, is that all these holes line up very gettable to these pros. So I definitely expect them to be playing well on their drives, but what I did not expect was how phenomenal these circle 2 putts were going to be. And every player under the sun was making them. You had Erica Stenchcombe getting like 4 amazing circle 2 putts, and then you had Sayananda throwing amazing drives, showing that she is definitely still here to stay with a 7th place finish. But the top 3 real contenders here was definitely Katrina Allen, Missy Gannon, and obviously Kristen Tatar. And overall, I think all 3 of them had kind of iffy moments during their tournament, but they just showed how consistently great they are with Missy Gannon's amazing circle 2 putts. Katrina definitely fought back after a rusty round 1 and then got the hot round for round 2 and 3. And her putter is definitely performing better than it has been in a while, which is very exciting to see. Missy Gannon had amazing putting with amazing drives, led her to a very strong, comfortable 2nd place finish, and there was definitely moments where I thought she might have what it took to take down Kristen Tatar, but just seeing how amazing and consistent Kristen is, that just wasn't quite the case. So let's talk about the champ, Kristen Tatar. Now this is a very interesting type of win for Kristen. One, it is the first time that she's been at this course and kind of the first time we've seen her in this kind of crazy elevation and this unique skill. But with that said, she performed so astronomically consistent with her putting that there was no way anyone was going to catch up. And some of these putts that Kristen was making just looked totally surreal because it was effortless straddle putts that would just go perfectly over the basket into the chains, and on the steep terrain there was just not as many people that were doing that type of shot so consistently. There was definitely players that would get it, but they would definitely like fall off the next hole. Kristen did not fall off, 0 OBs, great putting, and in very much Kristen style, she was number 1 in parked percentage. So overall, I think this course was an amazing example of how much fun these players can have on tour when they're not stressed about getting the win and they're more so just having fun in a really cool terrain. You get to see some players light it up on the putting green that you probably would not see nearly as much when there's like a high degree of competition in the field. We were really able to see these players shine in their element, and I think that is probably the best part about this course, in addition to the amazing nature that you get to see as well. And while it is pretty lame that MPO was canceled in the 3rd round, I still just love this event, and I really hope we get to see it come back. And if you'd like to join my Patreon, I would really appreciate it. It allows me to make more of this content, and I thank you so much for all the support. So with that said, what do you guys think? I would love to hear about it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Wild Runs, signing out. Peace.
Yeah.